You know, I've been thinking about this movie over the past couple of days, and I'm still trying to remain courteous and generous, and I'm beginning to think that that's getting in the way of my being effective. I am all for studios striving to achieve redemption, to seek improvement from their previous offerings. But good God almighty! This studio makes it so freaking hard for me to even enjoy or grade positively an animated movie, let alone one that is produced by one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. I must confess to you all that when I originally saw the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I was pretty generous. And upon rewatch in preparation for the sequel that we are talking about right now, the criticisms that I have levied towards this movie still hold relevance. Barring the best animation that Illumination Studios have made in years by a country mile, and Brian Tyler's musical score paying homage to the games, the soundtrack is an utter nightmare to listen to, the characterizations are inconsistent, their development is utterly vacuous, and the writing, much to my surprise, is significantly worse than how I saw it originally. I don't mean to sound incredibly judgmental, but I don't believe anyone who could have possibly liked the original movie even used their critical thinking skills to judge the movie on its own terms and as an adaptation. Now I get it, what I said did make it sound like I am such a condescending jerk, but the thing is, I am only doing this out of active tough love to you guys, to my fellow gamers and Mario fans. 2 years ago, Illumination Studios teamed up with Nintendo to create a feature film of their iconic mascot, not just of their company, but in gaming in general. And for what? A first installment that doesn't hold up on repeated viewings whatsoever? And a sequel that we are now behest to in 2026 called the Super Mario Galaxy movie, because the first movie generated close to $1.4 billion due to the audience giving in to the movie's manipulative use of nostalgia, Nintendo iconography, and references like a cobra to a flute, in such a safe, low-stakes, made-by-committee cinematic experience. And somehow, someway, this movie not only regurgitates the exact same flaws and detriments as its predecessor, but somehow manages to be so much worse in every conceivable regard. That's right, worse. It's not worth keeping you guys guessing as to what I thought about it, because this has to be addressed. Super Mario Galaxy is not only an objectively terrible movie, but it's one of the most lifeless, cynically corporate, shamefully manufactured video game adaptations in recent memory. This is a film that doesn't care about its characters, its stakes, its world, and its iconography. Its sole purpose was not to tell a story, to take you on a journey of characters learning and developing along the way, but to lambast the viewer and Nintendo fanboys across the auditorium with an endless supply of references and Easter eggs, while giving you the bare minimum as they cater to the lowest common denominator. And as for the story, yeah, what freaking story? Oh, you mean the 90-minute cavalcade of isolated moments, subplots, and set pieces that are cobbled together to form the surface-level illusion of a 3-act structure? Oh, that freaking story? If nothing else, I'll provide you Cliff's Notes of what this heartless, corporate animated studios thinks counts as a plot. Rosalina gets kidnapped by Bowser Jr. because he needs her cosmic power to power this cannon so he can use it to destroy the universe alongside his conqueror father, Bowser. One of the Lumas manages to escape and flee all the way to the Mushroom Kingdom to ask Peach and Mario for help. Peach accepts this and takes Toad along for the ride, while not telling Mario, Luigi, and the rest of the Toads as to who is in charge and what to do. Why didn't she take Mario and Luigi on this quest? Wouldn't she want Mario and Luigi to embark on this trek while she takes charge of the kingdom, since, you know, she really cares about her subjects? Who cares? Not the $1 billion that the movie's gonna make. Following the destruction of the castle during Bowser Jr.'s attempt to free his father from captivity, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi... Oh yeah, Yoshi's in the film, by the way. And he enjoys being with Mario and Luigi and is a part of the squad because reasons. Begin their journey to reunite with Peach and help save Rosalina, which they should have done at the very beginning, but look, this movie doesn't care, so I don't know why I should either. Before I go any further into the depths of the Super Mario Galaxy movie, are there any redeeming qualities? Well, that was fun. On to the negatives. Alright, I'm joking. It's not that bad, per se. It's not as bad as, like, Illumination's previous work, like the Lorax, but it's kinda similar in terms of quality with the Grinch. Shockingly, there's something salvageable in a movie that doesn't really care about your time, your intelligence, or even as your loyalty as a fan of the franchise. First of all, the exemplary prospect that this movie holds alongside its original film was its animation. It's still the best in years. The polish of the worlds and planets that our hero lands on in order to do time-wasting set pieces, or 3, and the designs of the characters are near one-for-one recreations of those that are depicted in the games. For voice acting, well, my thoughts on them, for the most part, haven't really changed at all since the original, though there are some annoying exceptions. I did really like Benny Safdie's sniveling, dubious voice as Bowser Jr., and I think that Brie Larson as Rosalina does a pretty good job, capturing the very reserved, calm, motherly presence of her character. Unfortunately, the film doesn't give her enough screen time to flesh her out beyond the basics, and there is a twist involving her. You know what? Just wait on that. Just wait. The film suffers from the exact same issues as the original, like I said before, except that this time, the film offers nothing of substance in any way, shape, or form. There's no story. The best this film has is a premise. There's no character arcs or development. There's no dialogue that is memorable. No references that are earned in the slightest. Every single ill-conceived piece of storytelling that happens in the film is only an excuse to get from one meaningless moment of fan service to the next. And with how incorporeal and non-existent the story is, it goes without saying that the film is laced with insipid contrivances and pervasive plot holes. When Rosalina is captured, her wand disappears, giving the impression that she is powerless without it. Yet she manages to break from her bonds when her Luma is being harmed, blowing everybody away. She could have done that the whole time. She could have done that when she was in the grasps of Bowser Jr.'s robot. And yet, when she is contained inside of a glass barrier, her powers are useless. Dang you, Glass. Once Peach is in the Gateway Galaxy after she just arrived there, a monkey just so happens to steal Toad's backpack, who just so happens to transport all the way down to an underground world, and just so happens to go all the way to a casino that is ruled by King Wart, who just so happens to know Rosalina's location. Even though the running time should have been cut a lot shorter, had the Luma turn into a launch pad and sent them all the way to Bowser's planet. Bowser Jr., using the Super Scope, turns Mario and Luigi into their baby versions. Thus, they mess with the controls on their spaceship, and they descend all the way down to the Mario Odyssey dinosaur planet. Then, for no reason whatsoever, Bowser Jr. just kicks the Super Scope off of the ship. Why? To which, coincidentally, by sheer logic-defying luck, it falls on the exact same planet that the crew landed on, and it just so happens to be not far away from where they crashed. Why is that? Well, because the film wanted to turn Mario and Luigi back into adults again. Otherwise, the movie would be over. And after that useless scene with the T-Rex is over, the filmmakers randomly spawn in a big radio for the crew to connect to the Comet Observatory so the Lumas can pick them up. I need to express to you all, these are not nitpicks. These are obvious plot holes and contrivances that the filmmakers just wrote on the piece of paper and never thought once to look over again upon redrafts. Either they just forgot or they just didn't care. I'm going with both. Almost every single moment in this movie is just an excuse for stuff to happen, whether it be a crowbarred slice of fan service, or to just push the plot forward without any cause and effect, rhyme, or reason. Speaking of things just for the sake of happening, Fox McCloud from Star Fox is in this film. Please clap. Credit where it is due. Glenn Powell, I think, voices the character of Fox McCloud very well. His vocal performance is able to express the cockiness, sophistication, and the high-flying daredevil attitude that made him so memorable in the games. That being said, I don't think people should be frustrated by the fact that Fox was spoiled by Illumination's marketing team. I think anyone who has a functioning occipital lobe would be frustrated by the fact that, you know why? You want to know why Fox is in this movie? Because the writers gave up. Because the writers were caught in a corner and they didn't know how to get Mario and Peach and the rest of the gang from A to B. Not because the film makes him into a dimensional character all on his own. He's a plot device and a soulless reference to a license that people recognize. I'm serious. His involvement in this movie is one of the biggest coincidences that I can ever recall witnessing from a video game movie, let alone an animated film. What are the odds that Fox, during a mission with his squad mates, Falco, Peppy, and Slippy, would get sucked into the Mario universe by way of a space anomaly and end up in the Gateway Galaxy to give Peach, Mario, and the rest of the group a ride to Rosalina's location? Why not have something like the Lumas go to the Mushroom Kingdom with their Comet Observatory and beg Mario, Luigi, and Peach for help since one of them was able to do so? Because the filmmakers prioritized forced nostalgia and references over natural storytelling. Even the way the film showcased his backstory on how he got here and what he was doing before, it just feels so cynical, as if the filmmakers are waving a bone to the fans saying, hey, you want a Star Fox movie? Alongside how bad the plot is, the character development is even more non-existent in the second go-around. Nobody expands from their prior entry. Nobody learns, grows, or develops something about themselves to feel like an enriching three-dimensional character, outside of 2 examples. But even those examples were so egregiously written, and one of them destroys what we know about the Mario Galaxy lore. No one has natural conversations or dialogue that leads to well-deserved payoffs. Most of it is artificial, filler banter to stretch out the length of the movie to give you the false reality that characters are actually learning something about themselves, or learning something about the other characters when there is, in actuality, no substance to speak of. But at least we know that Mario has a crush on Peach, so there that is. And it's obvious that they both like each other, but there aren't any scenes that strengthen their bond for one another. Nothing is achieved because nothing about the payoffs were built up to begin with. Never mind Chris Pratt's miscasting as Mario and Luigi being okayishly performed by Charlie Day. Both the brothers' progression since the first installment has been flat zero. They don't learn anything meaningful about themselves, the worlds they explore, or the new characters they encounter and befriend on their quests. In fact, they aren't even treated as the main characters of their own story. It's almost as if they're secondary characters who take part in their miscellaneous shenanigans, while the focus of the story is on Peach, and we are going to get to her. In fact, they even do things that are completely antithetical to who they were previously. Upon interacting with Bowser, Luigi persuades Mario to try and trust Bowser that he's turning a new leaf as he wants to be a good father to his son. Why? Luigi, didn't Bowser just try to sacrifice you into a volcano during a wedding ceremony? You should be the least trusting of Bowser. He should be on board with Mario on the basis that he could be lying about changing his behavior just so he can escape. Which, by the way, given the security in the Mushroom Kingdom and where he's being imprisoned in, he could have easily escaped a long time ago. But it actually turns out that Bowser is actually cool with Mario and Luigi and doesn't intend on hurting them. Okay. Speaking of which, the film virtually has nothing for Bowser to work with. The film presents itself as if Bowser is going to have like an internal struggle with wanting to live up to his son as a father and being leader of the Koopas while having an intense rivalry with Mario, and at the same time not wanting to kill him and teaching his son lessons about what's right and wrong and when not to go too far with villainy. However, he instantly reverts back to being his sinister conqueror self again in the blink of an eye after a couple lines from Bowser Jr., his son, who he neglected to boarding school so he can go off to be a conqueror to avoid being someone he's not. That is it. That is all the substance that you get. I understand that I gave him credit before in the first movie, but Jack Black as Bowser in the second go-around, he's getting extremely annoying. He doesn't voice him the same as he did previously, and he floods his line delivery with all of the mannerisms and Jack Black shtick that I've gotten sick of since the Minecraft movie. And I don't know about you guys, but Princess Peach in these movies has stopped being a character that I could get interested in. To avoid repeating myself, if you want to know my complaints about this character, my review of the first movie illustrates it to the best of its abilities. To quickly itemize, rather than making her a very cheery, lovable princess who is perseverant in protecting her kingdom and wants to help Mario out every once in a while, she is made into an unstoppable princess who is so good at everything that it undermines Mario's involvement and victories. And again, connecting her to being unstoppable with her fighting abilities, there is not a single action scene in this movie that she takes part in which you get the sense that she's probably going to lose, that she's going to get beaten. And that goes double for the majority of the fight scenes and moments of pointless spectacle throughout. None of them have any stakes to where you feel like somebody is going to lose. Nobody gets severely hurt, especially Mario and Luigi, who are human and somehow can endure pain even if they don't have power-ups. It's even gotten to the point where Anya Taylor-Joy's vocal performance is not even scraping above passable, and she's a good actress. She's given no direction to inhabit the kind, princess-like demeanor of her gaming counterpart, and her line delivery is very bland and stale and lacks the charm and kind-heartedness that we would expect from Peach. And I mentioned this briefly in my review of the first Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I wish I could have delved into it a lot more of Princess Peach wanting to find her parents again since she was separated from them and has lived her life on a distant planet with a new family of her own, the Toads. Whereas the filmmakers never bothered to explore that side of her character in the first movie, guess what? In this film, they finally address it! And when you get to the reveal, you wish that they never brought it up at all. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Rosalina and Peach, they're sisters. Even though they never were that way canonically. Now, let me talk about Rosalina real quick. In the Mario Galaxy game, Rosalina, the mother of the Lumas, was a little girl who came across a Luma and asked for her help to find its mom. And over the course of her story, it culminates in her getting over the grief of losing her family, being her father, her brother, and especially her mother, and ends up finding a new family all on her own with the Lumas. It was one of the most tragic and, dare I say, tear-jerking moments that have happened in any Mario game. Rosalina's entire backstory of helping a Luma find its mother while developing a newfound family on their own is given to Peach. And the movie simplifies Rosalina as just being Peach's long-lost older sister. This retcon not only removes what made Rosalina so tragic and mysterious in the Mario universe, but in this movie, it also does damage to Rosalina as a character. Because of the fact that dark, unexplained forces were trying to capture them both, since they both have the power of the cosmos, instead of fleeing with Peach to be with the Toads and to protect her, she stays behind and, for many years, never bothered to look for her across the galaxy. You think that since she's aware of the fact that Princess Peach is at the Mushroom Kingdom given her storybook, and that one Luma traveled all the way there, she would think to herself, you know, I have a sister to protect. We separated many, many years ago. Plus, with our powers combined, we have each other's back when the dark, unexplained forces return. Maybe I should go check on her to see how she's doing. Maybe I should reunite with her. And when both Rosalina and Peach finally reunite with one another, after all these years, they don't have a conversation together about how they've been, what their lives are like, or just talking about how much they've missed each other. Not even a single tear was shed. Their resolution is wrapped up in a few lines, and that's about it. But hey, don't fret, don't frown, marvel at the references, cue the nostalgic music, Easter eggs, and fan service. Look at the cameos from the games that you love. That'll cheer you up. Well, no, they didn't. Many times the film would stop dead in its tracks just to show the audience something that they recognize. The film even manages to screw up Brian Tyler's score. In isolation, the orchestra of combining several musical cues and themes from the games and blending them all into one beautiful medley is sublime and whimsical. In execution, it's all over the place and at times doesn't even make any sense. When you play a Mario game, every character, moment, and level has a theme to it, which allows the player to take in the environment and prepare for what they're getting into. In this movie, the score would at times take several notes from other Mario games while leaving certain choruses and bridges out and combine them with Brian Tyler's original themes for the movie. It's staggering how inappropriate and pandering it can be. I mean, why is the beloved theme of Gusty Gardens playing in a climactic action set piece? But hey, don't you remember Rob from the Super Nintendo? The toy accessory? Don't you remember the robotic operating buddy? Sure you do. Oh yeah, Rob, he solely exists to be a reference and serves no purpose to the plot, and for the film to rip off the sloth joke in Zootopia. Birdo? Same thing, just to be a reference. Pikmin? Ditto. And spoilers, as if it matters. When Luigi is trying to paint a character to fight Bowser Jr. with his magical paintbrush, Luigi paints Mr. Game & Watch. What kind of kid or anybody who is new to Nintendo or Mario is gonna know who Mr. Game & Watch is? It's because Nintendo put him there for the sake of fan service as the oldest character in Nintendo's history, and because of the fact that he's in Smash Brothers, I guess. Oh, and how can I forget Toad yelling to Fox to do the infamous Star Fox meme, do a barrel roll. I mean, come on, a lot of these references in this movie aren't intended for kids or Grace Randolph. They're intended for my demographic, someone who's lived in that bygone era of video games. And the management for these references are the dictionary definition of gratuitous pandering. Well, Samus's spaceship? Stop it. Movies like the Super Mario Galaxy movie remind me why I detest Illumination and their incapability of making good, impactful animated films. You know what? I hesitate to even call this a film. This feels more like a PowerPoint presentation for future Nintendo movies by Illumination, while filling the background of the PowerPoint presentation with references and Easter eggs to hit you in the feels. They're too scared to create three-dimensional characters that go on meaningful journeys, learning valuable lessons that link to ambitious themes. And they can't even bother to bring in a scene or two of emotional resonance. Heck, watching a 14-minute video of Rosalina's storybook in Super Mario Galaxy has better storytelling and spurred more emotion out of me than this. But here's the deal. Illumination and Nintendo will not change their cinematic exercises until the fans do. Saying who needs critics and that it's only made for the fans and for kids, it's not gonna make these movies any better. There have been several animated family movies that have euphoric quality and still hold up to this day. And as somebody who grew up and had a childhood playing Mario on the Nintendo GameCube for the first time, this movie offends me. A movie should stand on its own no matter what brand it's a part of. And this film didn't. If fans don't accept and come to terms with the fact that they are being pandered to and manipulated, that they are making movies with zero effort whatsoever, that just so happen to star their favorite video game icon, then maybe we might never see a great Mario movie in the foreseeable future. If you want to experience something gratifying and heartwarming, play any of the Mario games, especially the one that this movie is loosely based on. As for this movie, put it on a launch star, and send it to the freaking sun. My name is Luke Nukem, and you, my friends, have been blown away.